We need to talk about what's going on with our military. Not only is Trump sending troops to places like LA or DC, he's now threatening that places like Chicago are next. And there are already plans to send troops to 19 different states and cities. Trump mobilizing up to 1,700 National Guard troops in 19 states to widen crime and immigration crackdown. Deployments are reportedly set to take place largely in Republican-controlled states. The deployments will take place across the following states: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Wyoming. There's going to be more military in South Dakota than there are people. So far, it's just been two pretty liberal areas. It is going to be really interesting to see how Republicans react to a military takeover of their states. Although I'm sure the cultists will be super excited about it and go take pictures with them. But yeah, Trump also is talking about potentially sending the Marines or other branches of the military to Chicago, saying that beautiful black ladies are crying out to him.
Incredible job working with the police. And we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
Him saying the people of Chicago are crying out and they're wearing red hats reminds me of the first episode of Game of Thrones, where Viserys is told that the people in King's Landing are screaming for their king to come back. He's literally told that the people are drinking secret toasts to his health and that they cry out for their true king. Like, someone is just feeding this man lies and he is eating it up. Meanwhile, we are sending warships to post up outside of Venezuela. The deployment of U.S. destroyers and personnel comes as Mr. Trump pushes for using the U.S. military to thwart cartels he blames for the flow of fentanyl and other illicit drugs into American communities and for perpetuating violence in some U.S. cities. Trump has also pressed Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum to cooperate more on security than her predecessor, specifically by more aggressively pursuing Mexico's cartels. But she has drawn a clear line when it comes to Mexico's sovereignty, rejecting suggestions by Trump and others of intervention by the U.S. military. Yeah, Trump is blaming Venezuela and the rest of Central America and South America for violence in our cities, and he is trying to force the Mexican president to allow U.S. troops into her country. He is trying to start a war with Mexico and Central America. And all of that is being led by Pete Hegseth. You guys know Pete Hegseth, right? The guy who thinks that this is a pull-up.
It was President Trump.
Yeah, that guy, he is currently firing top senior intelligence leaders. In latest purge, Hegseth removes head of Pentagon Intelligence Agency, other senior officials. Hegseth's purge broadened later on Friday. One U.S. official speaking on the condition of anonymity told Reuters that in addition to Cruz, Hegseth has also ordered the removal of the chief of U.S. Naval Reserves and the commander of Naval Special Warfare Command. So, you know, the people that would be in charge of those warships that we're sending to Venezuela, the people who probably had the integrity to say no to Trump's insane demands. Oh, and the other guy is the one that supposedly leaked the intelligence document that the strikes on Iran were not successful. So he's firing people that are telling the truth. He's firing people that are refusing to be loyal to Donald Trump. On top of all of that, Tulsi Gabbard is also planning her own firings. Tulsi Gabbard announces plans to cut intelligence staff by half. That's our director of national intelligence, and she is going to fire half of our intelligence. You know, Putin is so goddamn excited right now. He's probably doing a little dance in his frickin' palace. And on top of all of that, we also have the vice president who apparently has a fundamental misunderstanding of how wars have come to end. Because he keeps simping for Putin, which is super messed up. And I'm going to show that clip first, actually. Here is him talking about how Putin is actually a really soft-spoken guy.
Putin. What was he like, just one-on-one?
So I've actually never met Putin. The president did that meeting. I've talked to him on the phone a number of times. You know, it's interesting. He's more soft-spoken than you would necessarily expect. You know, the American media has a particular image of him. He's soft-spoken in a certain way. He's very deliberate. He's very careful. And I think fundamentally he's a person who looks out for the interests as he sees it of Russia. And I think one of the reasons he respects the President of the United States is because he knows the President looks out for the interests of the American people. And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the president has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the president's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing.
First of all, Trump has never been critical of Putin. He literally was waving around a signed autograph picture of him in the White House the other day, saying that he is probably coming to the World Cup. Second, his tone of voice is not the issue that people have with Putin, JD Vance. And third, we want the killing to stop. Putin does not care. He has no interest in stopping. That's why he is still bombing. Even through all these negotiations you guys say you're having, he is continuing to bomb. He even bombed an American company in Ukraine the other day. And things like that, when the regime talks like that, it makes me wonder, like, are they genuinely stupid, or are they just, like, super loyal cultists? It's hard to tell sometimes, but this next clip makes me think that JD Vance might just genuinely be dumb. Like, the man has no understanding of World War II and how it came to an end.
Very quickly, if Russia is allowed to keep any of the territory that it illegally seized, what message does that send to China? Does it give China a green light to invade Taiwan? Does it give Russia a green light to invade other European countries, which is what your European allies are concerned about?
Well, first of all, the Ukrainians are going to ultimately make the determination about where you draw the territorial lines in their own country. But, Kristen, this is how wars ultimately get settled. If you go back to World War II, if you go back to World War I, if you go back to every major conflict in human history, they all end with some kind of negotiation. We're actually not active parties in the negotiation. We're effectively mediating. We're trying to mediate the Ukrainians and the Russians to come to some agreement. If the Ukrainians are willing to say something on territory that brings the conflict to the close, we're not going to stop them. We're also not going to force them because it's not our country. We're trying to play a constructive role. The president is trying to play a constructive role to bring peace to the region, but he's not going to force these parties to walk through the door. All he can do is open the door and ask them to negotiate in good faith.
Trump didn't only open the door for Putin, he made our U.S. troops lay down the red carpet for him. And he has closed every door for Zelensky. Also, what are you talking about? Ukraine is our allies. We are not a neutral party in this, JD. Also, buddy, we nuked Japan twice. We dropped 2 nuclear bombs on civilians to end World War II. And Hitler swallowed a bunch of lead. There were no negotiations. Like, there were the Paris peace treaties, but that was basically just more restrictions on Germany. It forced them to turn over war criminals and to unoccupy territory. They had to pay reparations. They had to have better rights for minorities. But FDR or Harry Truman, they weren't a mediator in World War II. They picked a side, and they didn't invite Hitler to come hang out in America and roll out the red carpet for him. Anyway, to wrap this up, our U.S. military, our intelligence department is completely compromised. Any general who has the audacity to stand up for the Constitution is being fired. Our intelligence agencies are being cleaned out by a literal stooge of Putin. Our president is being told that the people yearn for their king. And our vice president has literally no understanding of history. We are being governed by tyrannical morons. And we are under siege. Like, the military is in our streets, and they are expanding. They are armed. There is armed military in our streets. And they're mainly just milling around with nothing to do. Like, check out this amazing footage from Amanda Moore at NotTurtleSoup17. I'm just going to end on this clip because it is really eerie and weird and pathetic.
thank you. Sorry.